Everyone, this phone very much doesn't like me or my other one at the moment, but well, first things first. This video is in response to a short I watched where someone debates why government taxes its people, and honestly, the anti-tax argument has way too much screen time. Because the fact is, unfortunately, taxation is just a part of life. And the fact that in the United States, we don't see the directness of taxes. We see the costs more than we see the benefits. First, property taxes goes into education and most of the time infrastructure. Sure. Income taxes goes to the federal government, and it goes to the military and other branches of the government. For example, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and other programs like research into cancer research, and a bunch of different things that help humanity. For example, if this is, I'm just using $1,000 because that is a reasonable number. Now, that is, hypothetically speaking, how much a person makes for a month. And that's 12 grand. Actually, okay, let's go with, I'm using the calculator as my background, but, well, it's not really applicable. But taxing everybody, even though it's smaller to greater, even though the billionaires don't get taxed how much they should, is that basically how it should work is that when taxes are collected, they improve roads, make safety standards important, pay government workers. For example, aviation workers, soldiers, companies, the government to buy weapons for those soldiers and make more jobs indirectly by needing the government to buy weapons, bullets, guns, military equipment, etc., through the fact that government spending is through taxes. So that's the reason why taxation is a thing, because government can increase the GDP of an economy indirectly or directly. For example, in other countries, for example, Great Britain, France, Europe in general, they're better at this than we are because, well, they've been around a whole lot longer, and, well, okay, majority of them haven't, but to the point, they have a whole lot more social trust in their government, meaning they're willing to pay higher taxes, meaning they have a higher quality of life, and a bigger safety net than we do. For example, they have in Germany, France, Britain, and most countries in Europe, they have a government-funded and regulated healthcare agency or whatever that makes it so healthcare is generally low, to the point where it's not where someone will ever say in Germany, France, etc., don't call an ambulance, I can't afford it. But that's a common American saying because of the fact that Americans have a bad habit of not liking to pay taxes. This is because this country was basically born on that practice, is without representation. And the fact that people forget about that representation part, because taxation is just a part of government, because that's just how governments will and always will work, because we cannot live without government. There's no social system in the world that doesn't work like a government. And if anyone says it has, tell me in the comments. But to get to the point of why government taxes causes growth in the economy most of the time, is basically by making jobs indirectly. For example, I'm going to use the protectionist policies by the United States, even though they are detrimental. Their idea is the fact that over time, people will want to have cheaper products, so they will be built in the United States, and it will be American jobs. Or another example is medicine, where a lot of old R&D is through government funding, where I believe a good amount of certain programs were funded through government R&D grants, or many colleges get grants to do medical research and make medicines and stuff. Yes, it's not the perfect system, but it does what it's supposed to do. And the fact that, for example, as a way government has made something with tax dollars of its citizens, insulin, where the government of Canada invested into the project of insulin, where yes, it was an individual, but over time the government put money into it because they could see that it was beneficial for humanity. Because most of the time, capitalism doesn't make things just for humanity. It just makes it for capital. Or for capitalists. And the fact that we have insulin today is, even though, yes, not the main factor, but it is one of the reasons why insulin is all over the world, and people with diabetes or type 1 diabetes, these can live to adulthood and live an old age instead of a year like they used to. And another great example is infrastructure. Yes, it's something we complain about because of the fact it's most of the time terrible. There's a reason for that, because the fact is that the American thing of low taxes is that low taxation means, I will actually use the calculator for this. Imagine you make $1,000 and you have, back in 1980 or 1970, going 1970 to the 1980s, and yes, I'm oversimplifying this by a bunch, negative $880. That is expenses, for example, everything that needs to be paid for. Military spending, and Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, aid, and everything else that needs to be paid for, agencies, etc. And then they had money to do things with. Yes, they would also do things that would put them into a deficit, but the entire reason why the deficit is so high today is because of high spending without increasing this number, where this is the taxation number. Now, in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, they did this. Over time. Yes, it's not as extreme as this humongous number, but to put it in terms normal people can understand, is that when this number goes up and this number does not, debt goes up. It's just simple mathematics, where less taxes for the government to use, and over time more spending needing to be done, or being done anyway because of military spending and other programs like I don't know, regulations, bank regulations, enforcement of laws, paying people, paying retirees. You could go through the entire thing. For example, what is the government spending on? And I'm Googling this in different parts, and I'm using 2024. Now, food and agriculture, transportation, military, government. Okay, I'm using 2014 to... Actually, let's go with 2015 because I'm using this pie chart. And it's probably going to look similar. Military. Most Republicans and conservatives are not going to say we need a smaller military. Unless you're an isolationist, but a decent amount of the crowd that thinks that government spending is too high / taxation is too high also believe in respecting the troops, and no doubt. Then $72 billion to government, $70 billion to education, Medicare and health, $66 billion, veteran benefits, $65.3 billion, housing and community, $63 billion, environment and energy, $39 billion, $29.7 billion for science, social security and unemployment and labor, $29.1 billion, and 26% on transportation and agriculture. And yes, this is a whole lot different than today, but that is the general thing about the economy, is that things are going to need to be paid for. For example, stimulus into the American economy, where this number, this represents taxation, because this is the positive number, and it represents taxation because it's one of the biggest things for the American government. And this during the pandemic, probably speaking, went to 5,000 just for numbers' sake. It went down, meaning a lot more debt was going up, and the fact that more spending was needed, stimulus went into the economy, and yes, high inflation did go up, but people saw the actual value of stimulus checks, because no one is arguing that those stimulus checks were necessary, because they were. Without them, we would have gotten into a recession that was pretty god-awful. Yes, we arguably did go into a recession in 2020 to 2022, 23-ish. But the fact is that during that time, most people are stuck at home, and most people didn't realize we were in a recession. Yes, it feels like it, and it has, but relatively speaking, it wasn't until it is now. And the fact that this number, voters do not want this number to go up, meaning most politicians do not want this number going up for average Americans or billionaires. For example, the Senate and House voting on billionaire tax cuts by cutting Medicare. And yes, you might say, oh, this number spending that is necessary would go down then. I'm going to practically represent what was cut. See? Not much. Genuinely not much. Because even if you get rid of all the spending of government, you still have a lot of debt. And this will balloon. That will balloon because the fact that this will balloon because of a few factors. First, government needs to have necessary functions of it. For example, paying its employees, courts, etc. What is just necessary parts of the government. Then healthcare, FDA, USDA, ATF, etc. Just think of any part of the government needs to be funded so they can do their jobs. For example, the people that deal with ICE, because I'm going to go that direction, ICE is a federal agency that needs money. So if we have no taxation for the people that are most concerned about immigration, without taxation you don't have ICE. Without ICE you have scary immigration. Yes, I'm being sarcastic there, but it's a simple mathematical problem, is that people doing ICE do it for the money, or maybe sense of patriotism to the United States, but probably primarily to get a paycheck. And to get to the point of this video is that taxation is necessary because it does do good things for the American economy and for the American country socially, economically, politically, legally, etc. Because without taxation, you don't have people to enforce laws. Yes, people like Elon Musk could fund the government, but he barely has, right now, to my knowledge, the stock price of Tesla and other parts of his company, because that's mainly how he uses his money. It went down today, and over the past few months, ever since, to my knowledge, Donald Trump has been elected, it has gone down from its historical highest point in, let me see, yeah, it's still going down. But to get to my point is that Elon Musk couldn't fund the government and doesn't want to fund the government. And credit can only get you so far. Because the fact is, just think with your own personal budget. That is 1, 2, 3, 6, 60. That's a million. That's a billion. Trillion. So delete that and that. That is the national deficit. Yes, I'm maybe a bit wrong. I don't have the exact number in my head. National debt calculator. Actually, clock. I will... Yeah, I stand corrected. That is the amount of zeros. Now, I have to ask you a simple question. How much do you think we make per year off of taxes? I will look this up. How much does the United States make off of taxes each year? Total revenue. individual, yeah. Individual, yeah, okay. I'm going to use Google because it's a somewhat decent, reliable source, but I'm going to the U.S. Treasury Department. Yeah. Yeah, 51% of the net entire income of the government is individual income tax. Everything else is smaller than that. For example, corporate income tax is 7.6% of the economy, or $144 billion. So, it doesn't take a genius to think, if you cut your income in half, what are you going to do to pay off your debts? Go bankrupt. And that is what Donald Trump is trying to do by trying to say, oh, get rid of taxes is not going to cause so many problems. Yes, taxes are a pain in the ass, and the fact that most people hate taxes and hate doing them. But the fact is that this number will rise if we keep giving billionaires tax breaks and, to be frank, not getting taxes from individuals. Yes, it could be reformed and be a whole lot easier. I'm not saying it cannot be easier, but the fact is that taxation is necessary. Anyway, I know no one's going to listen to this because it sounds boring as fuck, but, well, that is just how the national economy works. Because taxation is not going away. Donald Trump might promise it, but it's not going away. If he does get it going away, well, I can see a whole lot of problems in the future, unfortunately. Yes, many Americans would love not paying taxes, but I'm going to say this. How many billionaires do you think would abuse that because they don't get their income through an income like income tax? They get an income by a capital gains tax, or through loans. So, anyway, love you guys and goodbye.